Hey all, the Dread Duck here. I know you all thought I was dead. Mostly dead. But as we know, mostly dead means
somewhat alive.
Somewhat alive, yes. So, okay. I am actually here to talk about the rules of Bicolline. This is something that does not get discussed nearly enough. The rules have evolved over a 25-year period, and as a result, some people have different ideas about what means what is what, and what is not. So we're going to talk about what the rules really are, plus we're going to talk about what you might perceive the rules to be, and that's also okay. So let's start with Bicolline is a lightest touch that you can feel LARP. And that means that you want to strike your opponent with the lightest possible touch that they can actually perceive in their armor, which means it's kind of up to you to gauge whether or not you got to hit them a little hard because they're wearing something like this, or not because they're not wearing something. All right, so Bicolline has, for lack of a better way to put it, it divides you up into a 6-part meat balloon. For the purpose of demonstrating our 6-part meat balloon, I have brought Jerry here. Jerry represents your average Bicolline player. So Jerry, yes Jerry, yes Jerry. All right, so Jerry represents your average Bicolline player. He has 6 legal hit zones. He has his wobbly melon up here. He has his torso. He has 2 arms and 2 legs. Each of those is a legal hit zone. Jerry, just like you, only has 1 point in each of these locations. Now, Jerry could make himself safer on the field by wearing armor. Jerry's just not that kind of guy. So Jerry decides, I'm gonna go out on the field just like this. And he has his little sword in this hand, because he's apparently left-handed. And he goes out, and because he's not wearing armor, he takes a hit. And Jerry gets hit in the leg. And so, Jerry's tough. So Jerry goes out on the field, and he's waving his sword around, and somebody with a bow shoots Jerry in the leg. Here comes the arrow. Ah! Oh no! Ah! Jesus Christ, Jerry. You have not skipped leg day. Alright. So Jerry goes out on the field, and he's bebopping around, and somebody shoots an arrow at Jerry's leg, and here comes the arrow. Here it comes. And Jerry... That's just obscene. Jerry loses his leg. Now, here's the thing. Once Jerry's leg has been lost, Jerry can no longer use this leg to hop around on. The rules of Bicolline say that when you are legged, you now have to go down to the ground, and you may pivot in place to continue to fight. Now, it's unlikely that there's ever a scenario where you're going to lose both of your legs, although it's possible. If you lose both of your legs, kind of decide for yourself whether or not you can still pivot, depending on whether or not. I mean, this is all a you thing. You decide how badly you're hurt, to a point. So Jerry's lost his leg, and now he is just a turret on the field. He can do nothing. He can wave. Hi. So he stays there, and he's like, I'm the Black Knight. Come and get me. Rawr. And some archer sees him and is like, oh, that guy's just pathetic. And they shoot him in the arm. So an archer sees him on the field and he's like, come and get me. And Archer's like, yeah, I don't like you anymore, so I'm gonna shoot your arm. Boy, these arrows are terrible. Jerry's working out. Here comes the arrow and shoots her in the arm. My God, Jerry. He's just been to give blood, and he has a tourniquet on his arm. And he's lost his other arm. Jerry is still alive. He cannot use his legs. He cannot use this thing, but he can still fight with this, whatever he has in this. If he has a two-handed weapon in this, he can no longer fight because he can't hold a two-handed weapon with this thing, whatever this is. So another archer comes along and they shoot Jerry in the head. It doesn't count. You can't shoot somebody in the head. No piercing weapon can affect the head anywhere. You can't stab somebody in the head. You can't shoot them in the head. It's no county. So Jerry goes and continues to be whatever Jerry is. However, the archer then goes, well, I'm tired of this green thing. So they shoot him in the torso. And so they shoot him in the torso. And Jerry is now dead. Jerry now falls to the ground. Jerry cannot talk to other players. Jerry cannot move unless there is a safety issue. No matter how I hold this, it's dirty. So Jerry can only lay on the ground until he is either revived by a healer or the battle moves away from him, at which point he can rise and move to the respawn point. Okay, so healers are a thing at Bicolline. A healer is someone who has an official Bicolline hourglass. I've actually had some people ask me, well, where do I get an hourglass? Well, the answer is you get them through the virtual game. You don't go to the dollar store and buy an hourglass because that's not how that works. You have to get a healing hourglass through the virtual game of Bicolline. There are ways to get them. Find me in game and we can talk further about that if you really don't understand it. So the way a healer works is they will come up to you and they must make body-to-body contact with you. And that literally means what it means. It doesn't mean they must put their torso against your torso. It means they must put their hand or their foot or some part of their body on some part of your body, and they must remain in that position, taking no offensive action for the duration of the healer's glass. Once the sand has run out in the glass, you are fully healed. And that means not only do you have all your wounds back, all of your little Jerry parts are back, but it means all your armor is back too. You are back as if you had just respawned and entered the battlefield fully healthy. The other thing that you will see on the field that you need to be aware of are the marshals. You must be aware of the marshals. Marshals are wearing blue and gold. They generally have a staff with a seahorse on it, the hippocamp staff. If you see a marshal on the field and they are trying to tell you something and you don't understand what it is, first stop whatever it is you're doing and clarify to them that you don't understand them. Let's be clear about something. Marshals on the field are not referees. They are not there to call balls and strikes. They are not there to say, you got hit and you're out, or he got hit and he's out. That's not their job. Their job is safety, safety, safety. If they see a safety issue, they are going to rush in. So if you see a marshal rushing in, sticking their staff between you and your opponent, someone's doing something unsafe, and that's the only reason they're there. Listen to the marshals. Let's talk about a hit. What is a hit? So we're going to talk about armor, and as you can see, I'm wearing plate armor. This armor is, as defined by Bicolline, overlapping plates of metal. Overlapping plates of metal counts as 2 points of armor. So if I take a hit to the shoulder, if I take a hit to the shoulder, then I have lost 1 point of armor on this shoulder. That is where I have lost it. Now that shoulder is my arm, right? On the Jerry, remember this whole thing is my arm. So if I now take a hit to the forearm, I have now lost 2 points of armor on this Jerry part. So if I take a hit on the elbow, I've now lost my arm. It's not about which piece of armor is hit, it's about the entire one Jerry part being hit. On the other hand, you'll note I don't have armor underneath my arm. So if I'm for some reason going, hey, I'm walking here, hey, look at me, and I take a hit on the unarmored portion of my arm, I just lost that entire Jerry part. So that is something to be aware of. So what is armor? So this obviously is armor. This is 2 points of armor if it is hit. Chainmail or hard leather that is designed to be armor is also armor. Chainmail or hard leather is 1 point of armor. Scale mail. This is the thing that a lot of people are going to argue about. Scale mail is a type of armor. Scale mail is by definition overlapping plates of metal. That being said, the marshals have discussed amongst themselves and they have come to the conclusion that scale mail and chain mail are essentially the same thing. So scale mail, even though it has these marvelous overlapping plates of metal, it is not the same as this. And that's realistic. You will see people on the field who will play scale mail as though it were overlapping plates of armor and treat it like plate armor. It's not. That's on them. Don't call them on it. Which brings me to an important point. You will see people cheating the rules. I have a friend who every time we come up with a rule system for a game or whatever, if we're trying to brainstorm something, he always goes to, well, people are going to cheat that. Yes. Yes, no matter what rules you come up with, people are going to cheat. Whether it's just because they just desperately need a win, or if it's just in their nature, it doesn't matter. Some people, a very small minority of people, are still going to cheat. There's nothing you can do about it. It's not, don't be that person. Don't let someone who is not counting their hits convince you to not count your hits. If you encounter someone who's cheating, a very good example, and I'm not going to name or shame anybody in this, but in a very good example in the last GB, there was a guy who was just wearing no armor and archers were just peppering him with arrows. At one point, I literally saw him get hit with 6 arrows in the torso at the same time, and he just kept going. There was no way he was unaware of it. He was simply cheating. And okay. As a group, the archers who were fighting him said, okay, everybody just ignore him. Let's not play with him. Let's go somewhere else and fight a fair fight. Because you can't do anything about that. The marshals are not going to step in. Don't expect them to. All you can really do in something like that is if you know the person, you might have a chat with them. If you don't know the person, don't go up and yell at them. That doesn't help anybody. Just play your game. Don't be the cheater. If everybody who watches this, everybody who is out there doesn't be the cheater, then there will be no cheaters and there won't be an issue with that. So yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. All right, so everyone at the GB is allowed to have one, and that number, it seems silly, but and you'll understand here in a second. Everybody at the GB is allowed to have one indestructible shield. That means there's no thing that can happen where someone can call shield break or whatever. Your shield will always, that's not to say your shield is literally indestructible. It may actually break, but for the purposes of the game, your shield is indestructible. So, one indestructible shield. That means you can carry the shield in your hand and have an indestructible barrier that people can hit. You can strap the shield to your shoulder and it is indestructible, even though you still have a free hand here that you can use two weapons with, or a two-handed weapon with rather. Or You can tape the entire shield to your body, make yourself stop sign man, and it's still indestructible. So there's been a lot of debate about that rule, but that is the final verdict. If your shield is strapped to your body, that part of your body cannot be harmed with weapons. The exception, of course, being monsters and artillery. If monsters and artillery touch any part of your equipment, be it your indestructible shield that's way out here, the tip of your sword that's way out there, you're still dead. You're dead. And if you are stop sign man and you've got this shield strapped to your body, there's still a whole lot of you that is entirely fair game. This will not make you immortal. Don't do it, it just makes you look silly. This, however, the strapping it to your arm, this is a very valid technique. You'll see a lot of it. And it's historically accurate, so you know, there's that. So that's cool. So a legal hit should be a tap, not an absolute whale. You don't need to just haul off and hit somebody as hard as you can. They just need to be able to detect it. What you're gonna find is that shield walls will form. People will overlap shields will come. Don't do that. Don't do that thing. No. Oh! Ow! Yes! Don't do that! That doesn't count. I'm counting it. Oh! Oh! What are you shooting me now?
Well, you might want another take.
No, I don't want another take. No! It's good.
He asked for that.
I did.